It became known as the Celtic Tiger, Ireland's economy awash with cash off the back of 2 decades of cheap credit and low income tax. The Celtic Tiger is dead. The streets of Dublin still gleam, the Tiger's legacy, but with jobs disappearing by the thousand each week, welfare queues are forming for the first time since the early 90s. By night, rising numbers of those who've lost everything.
The Celtic Tiger is not just dead, I think it's extinct. We're never going to go back to the era of 7, 8, 10% growth. We're looking at possibly up to a 10% fall in national income this year. We're looking at unemployment rising certainly into the mid, if not high teens.
In the town of Waterford, a world-renowned Irish brand, along with hundreds of jobs, also gone. Ian Paul worked as a craftsman at Waterford Crystal for 42 years, until the company unexpectedly went into receivership in January.
Oh, it's absolutely devastating. I mean, it's totally heartbroken at this stage. Like when it's your whole life here, something like this happens. This is one of those things you just could never see coming. The government should hang their heads in shame because they have stepped back from this totally.
But the government has bigger concerns, among them dwindling tax revenues that once drew heavily on a burgeoning property and construction market, now at a standstill. Not long ago, another iconic Irish brand, the rock band U2, decided to build Ireland's tallest building here in Dublin's dilapidated Docklands. It was to have included luxury apartments and a recording studio for the band, rising like an exclamation mark over the boomtown capital. But now the project is in mothballs. Graffiti around the construction site recalls some of the optimism that U2 Tower would have stood for. U2 Tower and Waterford Crystal, both high-profile casualties, and there are countless others. Some developers are putting a brave face on it, but there's little disguising the fact that accommodation built cheap and sold for easy profit in the good times is going nowhere now. Crashing prices means the wealth accumulated in property nationwide was, for many, just an illusion. Amid the gloom, Ireland's most famous brand continues to flow strong, though questions do hang over the size of its workforce. And in Dublin's pubs, the crack is as lively as ever, even if it's mostly about one thing.
I'd say everything has changed, really. We lived in a very false society for a very long time.
There's an awful lot of anger out there at the way that the people that are perceived to have caused the problems are walking away from it.
As elsewhere, the bogeyman is the banker. But while cronyism, corruption and big bonuses have played their part, in reality Ireland stretched itself way beyond its own means. In time, Ireland will likely revert back to being a small export economy, posting moderate but sustainable growth. It'll be a slow and painful return. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Dublin.